Don't mind me. I'm just sitting here and watching the show as everybody on the internet freaks the fuck out. Hey there guys, I'm John Campea. Thanks for visiting my movie vlog. Now before we get into it, let's get to the facts. The director of the upcoming The Batman movie, Matt Reeves, who of course did a wonderful job on the two films that he did in the Planet of the Apes series, has just done an interview where he dropped a bit of a bomb suggesting that the Batman movie he's working on and what he'd like to be a trilogy is actually standalone and separate from the DCEU, like not part of the DCEU. Here's what Matt Reeves had to say. Well, I have a vision for a way to do something with that character, Batman, that feels like it resonates with me personally, and a perspective that can grow out into other things. When they, Warner Brothers, approached me, what they said was, look, it's a standalone. It's not part of the extended universe. Now, this statement comes right on the heels of the news that dropped yesterday that Warner Brothers is looking to develop a Joker movie being produced by Martin Scorsese that also is not a part of the DCEU. We're seeing a trend here. Now, before I go too much into it, I want us to consider one possibility that we need to keep in mind as we're discussing all the rest of this, okay? Maybe when Matt Reeves used the words, it's not part of the extended universe, maybe he means that it's in the DCEU. It is a part of the DCEU. It's just not, hyper connected. We're not going to see crossovers. It's a loose connection. That is a possibility. I don't think that's what he means. That's not what he said, but it is a possibility that that's what he meant. So let's at least keep that filed away in the back of our head as we talk about the rest of this. This raises a lot of questions. If this is indeed a standalone Batman that sits outside of the DCEU, it's its own thing that's going to run concurrently while the DCEU is going, it wouldn't be inconsistent of Warner Brothers. Remember, Warner Brothers tried to do this before. As Christopher Nolan's Batman films were going on and we were still in the middle of those films coming out, Warner Brothers had commissioned George Miller to do a Justice League movie that was going to have a separate Batman and a different Batman, and that was going to run and play concurrently while Nolan's Batman was still going on. So it's not like Warner Brothers having two separate cinematic universes going with their DC characters is an unheard of thing. It is something they almost did before. So if this is, as Matt Reeves says, it's outside of the DCEU, does that mean that this Martin Scorsese Joker film and this new Batman film would be in a shared universe, or would both of them be truly standalone projects, which would be interesting? What do I think about all this? Look, I'm not going to backtrack on what I said about the Joker thing. I think Warner Brothers rolling the dice and taking some creative risks by throwing open the floodgates of creativity and letting their filmmakers tell stories that aren't handcuffed to the idea that whatever story you tell has to tie in properly to the DCEU. I think it's a bold move by Warner Brothers. I know a lot of people were expecting me to freak the fuck out and go nuts on Warner Brothers. I actually applaud Warner Brothers. Look, this may not work. This may be terrible, sure. But whenever you truly take a risk, whenever you truly roll the dice and try something new, there is a risk of it being terrible. And yeah, this may blow up in Warner Brothers' faces, absolutely. But honestly, I think this is bold on their part. I think this is gutsy on their part. I think this is ballsy on their part. If this is the way it looks like, I think it's pretty innovative that they'd be trying to do something like this. I'm not saying I would do it if I were the CEO of Warner Brothers, but for them to do it, they are showing an initiative that I don't think a lot of people thought they had. But once again, I'm completely cognitive of the fact that this could be a massive dumpster fire and a total train wreck. Yeah, it could be. But again, even if it is, I am still going to applaud Warner Brothers for trying something different. And I can't help but talk about this too. Look, if this is the case, and if right at the beginning, when Warner Brothers and Matt Reeves are talking, this was about a new standalone Batman outside of the DCEU and all that kind of stuff, it harkens us back to the whole Ben Affleck drama. Look, everybody knows, I've been telling you for a while, Ben Affleck is not long to be Batman. He's not going to be Batman much longer. But when Ben Affleck stepped down as the director of Batman, just a few days after insisting on Jimmy Kimmel that he was indeed still directing Batman, then a few days later they announced that he's not, he gave the reason that, oh, I've just decided that directing it and acting in it is going to be too difficult. And I told everybody that's BS. I said publicly, he's just saying what needs to be said, and I don't blame him for that. I think it was the right thing for him to say. But I told everybody at the time, that's BS. Because this whole thing about, look, we're scrapping the Batman thing. Batman's going to be a totally different thing outside of the DCEU. Ben Affleck knew that. Everybody in the Warner Brothers inner circle knew this for a long time. So, does anybody still believe that Ben Affleck stepped down as the director just because he thought it was going to be too hard to write and direct it? Because if what Matt Reeves is saying is true, when Ben Affleck stepped down as the director, that means they had already thrown his script out too. That script that he had worked on with Jeff Johns that he said was ready to go now, they had already thrown it out because they were planning this other thing. So I don't know, guys, like, what do you think? You read Matt Reeves' words. What are you interpreting here? How do you think this is all going to play out? And if true, what do you think the ramifications are, both for things that are upcoming and for things we've seen happen in the past? How do you think it affects the way we should view all this stuff? Jump into the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. Hey guys, while you're here, consider becoming one of my Patreon supporters. Look for the link in the description below that take you to my Patreon page to give you tons of information. Also, most importantly, take a second and click on the subscribe button, become a subscriber to my YouTube channel, and make sure you're following me on social media on Twitter, simply @John Campea. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Until the next video, bye-bye.